There is a silent behavior, almost forbidden, that turns any man into someone impossible to ignore. A simple gesture, yet calculated, that awakens the deepest layer of female desire, the part she tries to hide even from herself. Machiavelli taught that power is never in the act of chasing, but in becoming the one who is chased. And that is exactly what you're about to learn. You want the truth others hide from you? Then listen carefully to what I'm about to say. There is a quiet truth almost no man ever notices. A woman never chases a man who tries to win her over. She chases the man who intrigues her. Predictable people are disposable, but the one who shakes her emotional structure becomes unforgettable. That is where the Machiavellian game begins. A game very few truly understand. To make a woman chase you endlessly, you do not need to be perfect. You only need to be a presence she cannot decode. And everything the mind cannot understand, it tries to pursue, to solve, to possess. Female attraction is not logical, it is strategic. And when you master that logic, you stop being just another man. You become the exception she is afraid to lose. The mistake most men make is trying to be the good man, the attentive man, the always available man. This creates gratitude, but it never creates desire. Machiavelli already warned, the one who gives too much becomes irrelevant, because what is abundant loses its value. What captures a woman's mind is not the excess of your presence, but the precision of your presence. When you show up, the impact must be so powerful that she feels your absence even when she tries to forget you. This is not created with romantic gestures. It is created with posture, with the feeling that you have your own inner world, a world that does not revolve around her, a world that pulls her like a silent magnet. You are not seeking approval, you are not chasing, you are not trying to prove yourself. And this absence of need is what drives her wild, because it challenges her ego and dismantles her emotional defenses. Every woman tests, not because she is manipulative, but because she needs to know whether you are emotionally strong enough to lead the game. When she takes long to reply, provokes you, acts cold, it is nothing but an experiment to measure the impact she has on you. If you react, you lose. If you remain composed, you awaken something deeper, respect, and from respect, attraction is born. What nobody ever told you is that a woman does not chase you for what you show, she chases you for what you hide. She does not want predictability, she wants mystery. She wants to feel that she still does not fully possess you. This triggers an ancient instinct, almost animal, the instinct of conquest. When she realizes she does not have emotional control over you yet, she begins to try. First subtly, then openly. Machiavelli would teach, control is always more powerful when it does not look like control. To build this dynamic, you must master the rhythm of your presence. A woman should never know exactly when you will appear, but she must always feel that when you do appear, you shift her emotional atmosphere. This balance between distance and impact is what creates emotional addiction. Do not be constant, be unforgettable, do not be obvious, be impossible to erase. When you deliver intensity and then disappear to live your life, she finds herself thinking about you without wanting to. She misses the way you make her feel, not the image of who you are. And that is stronger than beauty, stronger than charm, stronger than any poetic line. It is pure psychological chemistry. But here is the secret almost no one has the courage to admit. For a woman to chase you, you must be able to tolerate the emotional discomfort that most men cannot handle. The art of silence, calculated coldness, strategic patience, all of this requires emotional backbone. If you crumble at the first provocation, she labels you as weak. But if you remain firm, she begins to realize you are rare, and everything rare becomes desired. Human beings only value what they fear losing. If you are impossible to lose, you are also impossible to desire. The core lesson of this first part is simple. A woman chases the man who does not kneel before her tests, who does not beg, who does not lose himself. The man whose presence is strong, and whose absence is even stronger. The man who keeps his essence intact even when she tries to shake it. This is the type of man who lingers in her mind, who returns in silent thoughts, who appears in moments when she swears she has already forgotten. This is the man Machiavelli would write about if he spoke of seduction today. The man who governs without raising his voice, the man who conquers without needing to run. The man who makes a woman chase him because deep down she knows losing someone like that would be unforgivable. And women cannot bear losing what they know they will never find again. A woman only starts chasing a man when she feels he is slipping through the cracks of the control she tries to impose. This point is crucial. It is not about being indifferent, it is about being indomitable. The female mind does not bond with what gives itself up too easily. It bonds with what touches a territory she cannot dominate. When she looks at you and realizes your attention cannot be bought with compliments, your energy does not bend to neediness, and your emotions cannot be easily manipulated. Something shifts inside her. Her mind creates a silent question. Why does he not react like the others? And it is that question that begins the emotional pursuit, because the search for the answer becomes fascination. Women always observe a man's emotional stability. Always. And this is where almost everyone fails. Any sign of desperation, anxiety, or urgency gives away all your power, and what is given away too soon is never valued again. Strategic coldness, on the other hand, is a subtle weapon. Not the immature coldness used to spark cheap jealousy, but the coldness born from the ability to stay on your own path even when she tries to pull you into her emotional chaos. This coldness does not push her away, it pulls her in. She starts questioning why she cannot shake you, why your presence does not bend to her moods. And when you become emotionally unpredictable, she begins to study you, observe you, desire you. The secret, however, is to show no need at all. The man who seeks validation becomes a broken mirror. She looks at him and sees nothing but fragments, insecurities, fears, doubts. But the man who wants himself, who is enough for himself, the man who lives independently, who guards his mind, ambition, and purpose as absolute priorities, that man creates a tension most women cannot handle. She does not chase you out of need. She chases you out of curiosity. She wants to understand why you do not bow to the emotional mechanics she uses on every other man. She wants to know what exists inside you that challenges her so deeply. This becomes even stronger when you master the art of selective presence. Women do not desire men who are always around. They desire the men who appear like an impact and then disappear to live their own lives. When you appear, you shift the atmosphere. When you vanish, you leave a vacuum she feels in her chest. And this contrast, intensity and absence, impact and silence, is what creates emotional addiction. But for this to work, your absence must carry weight. It is not about ignoring for the sake of ignoring. It is about withdrawing to grow, to build, to evolve. Your life must be filled with movement, force, and ambition, so she understands that no matter how important she is, she will never be the center of everything. There is a strategy few men ever master: never compete for her attention. When a man tries to earn space by battling others, he falls into her game. But when you act as if it is natural for her to move toward you, something shifts. Her brain interprets this as value. Her world may be surrounded by options, but when you behave as the option, not the competition, she begins to view you as the emotional prize. And the prize is always pursued. Being chosen is ordinary. Being desired is common. But being chased, that is reserved for men who invert the dynamic without ever showing the effort behind it. And this inversion happens when you learn to never reveal all your intentions. Do not respond too quickly. Do not expose all your emotions. Do not lay every card on the table. A woman must feel that there is always a layer of you she has not yet reached. When you become fully accessible, she loses interest. But when there is hidden depth, something she senses but cannot fully define, she becomes automatically drawn in. It is human nature. We chase whatever feels larger than what we are able to understand. The most Machiavellian part of all this is that you do not force the dynamic. You embody it. You live as a man who has options, ambition, and presence, and above all, you live as a man who can walk alone. This is the difference between an ordinary man and the kind of man a woman chases. The ordinary fears solitude. The rare man masters it. And when she realizes that your absence is not an unconscious plea for attention, but a natural territory of your spirit, she understands something most men can never communicate. You do not belong to anyone, and that is exactly why she wants to claim you. Deep down, the truth no one speaks is this: women chase men who do not fold. Men who keep their posture even in the presence of beauty, charm, and emotional games. Men with strong souls, sharp silence, and steady presence. It is not about treating her poorly, it is about refusing to let her set the rhythm. It is about not being shaped by her emotions. And when she sees that you are unbreakable, she begins breaking her own resistance just to reach you. She starts texting first, creating conversations, seeking your presence, because she knows that if she does not, another woman will, and gladly. To make a woman chase you endlessly, you must understand one of the deepest and least spoken instincts of female psychology. A woman only opens herself emotionally to a man who challenges her, not aggressively, not ignorantly, but structurally. A man who does not fold, does not fall apart, does not lose himself. A man whose presence is an invitation, but whose essence remains a territory she has not yet conquered. This awakens something inside her that goes beyond desire. It awakens emotional ambition. And when a woman feels ambition instead of comfort, she starts to pursue you. The game is never about beauty. It is about emotional impact. Handsome men entertain for days. Emotionally rare men are remembered for years. What defines rarity? It is simple. She cannot move you the way she moves the others. She realizes that her tests, her provocations, her emotional games, none of them work. What works on 99% of men does not work on you. And that makes you the only one she truly wants. This is the kind of power that cannot be bought, forced, or begged for. It is built through who you become, never through what you say. And there is something even deeper. Women desire men who carry a controlled darkness. Not destructive aggression, but silent intensity, an inner force she feels even when you never show it. The most attractive masculine presence is not the loud one, not the overly social one, not the one who wants to be seen. It is the man who observes more than he speaks, who sees more than he reveals, who stays calm even when the world tries to pull him off center. She senses that strength, and she knows a man like that cannot be easily possessed, and whatever cannot be possessed must be pursued. This is why so many men fail. They reveal too much, too soon. They reveal their feelings before she even has time to miss them. They give energy before she earns it. They rush to validate, to please, to prove they are good men. But anything offered without resistance loses its value. Machiavelli would say, what comes too easily becomes invisible. The difference between the man she forgets and the man she pursues lies in his ability to control the emotional flow. When you deliver intensity and then pull back into your own life, you create a scarcity that activates her emotional hunting instinct. She senses that if she does not move, she will lose you. And that mix of desire and fear is what produces the impulse to chase. Here is one of the most hidden truths. No woman chases a man who gives himself fully before she does. Emotional pursuit only exists when you hold a slightly higher position in the psychological power dynamic. This is not toxic domination. It is natural polarity. When she realizes she has not fully conquered you emotionally, something inside her lights up. She starts investing more, approaching more, seeking your opinion, your presence, your validation. Because feminine desire does not grow from complete security. It grows from controlled uncertainty, from the feeling of, I want him, but I do not fully have him yet. The worst thing you can do is present yourself as a man who needs her. The best thing you can do is present yourself as a man who chooses her. The difference is brutal. When you need her, she commands. When you choose her, she follows. What keeps a woman invested is the awareness that you want her but do not need her, that you appreciate her but do not kneel, that you make space but never hand over the throne. This posture changes everything. There is no such thing as an unreachable woman for a man whose absence is more powerful than everyone else's presence. But that absence must be built intelligently. It is not about disappearing as punishment. It is about living a life so full that you simply do not have the time to be available 24 hours a day. It is about having goals, projects, training, business, constant progress. It is being so committed to your own evolution that she understands. To be part of your world, she must earn a place in your routine. This does not push her away, it pulls her in, because she realizes you do not live for her. And a woman deeply respects a man with a world of his own, a man who breathes purpose, not neediness. This is the point where many women begin to approach voluntarily. They send messages without reason, create opportunities to see you, seek a small crack in your schedule. And every signal she gives you is an emotional thermometer. If you respond with desperation, you destroy the dynamic. If you respond with calmness, firmness, and measured interest, you reinforce it. The Machiavellian secret is simple. Do not give her the intensity she wants. Give her the intensity she needs. Do not feed her ego. Feed her desire. Desire is fed by doubt, by mystery, by the emotional impact you create when you appear, and by the silence you leave when you disappear. In the end, a woman only chases the man who becomes unforgettable. And no one becomes unforgettable by saying beautiful words, but by making her feel something she has never felt before. The feeling of standing before someone she cannot control, cannot manipulate, cannot mold. When you become that kind of man, you stop being just an option. You become an unavoidable presence in her mind, a presence she wants close but fears losing. And that fear is the fuel of the most primal female desire. There is a specific moment, almost invisible, when a woman's psychology changes completely. It happens the moment she realizes you do not depend on her reactions to continue being who you are. While most men bend to her moods, her replies, her attention, you remain unmoved, as if you exist on a different emotional level. This creates a type of impact she cannot control, and whatever a woman cannot control, she tries to control. The pursuit is born exactly from this point, not from romantic passion, but from a psychological need to understand and possess what slips through her hands. This is where the most powerful doubt a woman can ever feel begins. Why does he not bend for me? This doubt does not just intrigue her, it consumes her. She begins to realize that you do not react to tests, do not panic at silence, do not tremble under provocation. And the more she tries to shake you, the more she sees that she cannot. This activates in her a deep, almost ancestral instinct to conquer the kind of man other women cannot touch. She sees value in resistance, because masculine emotional resistance is rare, and everything rare becomes precious. And in this process, something subtle and Machiavellian happens. You lead her emotionally without ever showing that you are leading. Masculine seduction is not about words, it is about atmosphere. When you appear with calmness, straight posture, and a steady gaze, she feels something. When you disappear for days to live your life, she feels something else. When you return, she feels it again. And when you vanish once more, she feels it even stronger. She becomes trapped in this dance of impact and absence. It is an emotional pendulum. Every movement you make shifts something inside her, and the intensity grows until she must act to relieve the discomfort you create. The truth is simple. A woman does not chase because she likes chasing. She chases because her mind refuses to accept the loss of something she considers valuable. And value to a woman is not how much you love her, but how much you keep your axis. The man who survives the test is the man she wants. The man who collapses is the one she discards. Seduction, at its core, is a continuous psychological examination, and you pass every one of them when you maintain composure through the storms she creates to test you. This is not a dirty game. It is human nature, and nothing intrigues a woman more than a man who does not fold under emotional pressure. When she complains expecting you to beg for attention, but you reply with calmness, she feels a mix of frustration and admiration. When she tries to provoke you with subtle insinuations and you remain centered, she realizes she has lost a weapon. When she sends ambiguous signals and you act like a man who has options, she starts to understand that you are not like the others. The feeling of he is above the average begins to corrode the certainty she once had. And the more this happens, the more she invests in you, even without noticing. A fatal mistake many men make is trying to prove their value. Real value is never proven. It is demonstrated in silence. It is in the way you take care of your life, not in the speeches you make about it. It is in the way you dress, the way you look at the world, the way you walk, the way you work, the way you remain quiet. It is the respect you command without ever having to ask for it. What attracts a woman is not who you say you are, but what she feels when she is in your presence. This feeling cannot be faked. Either you carry the energy of a strong man, or you appear like a boy seeking approval. And women sense this from far away. Another Machiavellian point: never allow her to know exactly how much you like her. Do not hide it immaturely or dramatically, hide it naturally. Show enough interest to maintain tension, but never the full intensity that makes her feel completely secure. Female desire feeds on doubt. When she is unsure whether she has you, she tries to have you more. When she believes she has fully conquered you, she relaxes, and relaxation kills desire. Uncertainty keeps it alive. This is not manipulation. It is understanding how emotional dynamics operate naturally. She will start competing for your attention, first subtly, late-night messages, random questions, strategic photos. Then more openly, invitations, complaints about your absence, subtle pressure for more of you. The less you dance to her rhythm, the more she tries to dance to yours. And when you finally give her small doses of attention, it feels like a reward to her. Human psychology works this way. What is difficult becomes valuable. What is valuable becomes a priority. And when you control the distribution of your energy, she begins to align herself with your axis. And then the shift happens. She starts to fear losing you. This is the exact point where the emotional pursuit begins in an irreversible way. This fear does not mean pathological insecurity, it means perception of value. She realizes you are not easily replaceable, that you are not available to just anyone, that your presence has weight. And the greater the fear of losing, the stronger the impulse to hold on. It is exactly at this point that she begins to invest more, to chase more, to show jealousy, to try to please you, to move closer. Deep down, the truth no one has the courage to admit is this: women value men who are not emotionally accessible to everyone. Men who have an inner world, silence, discipline, patience, depth. Men who do not place the woman at the center, but make her want to enter the center of their world. And when you become this kind of man, she chases you not out of need, but out of desire, the strongest kind that exists. There is a moment in the dynamic between man and woman when the entire game changes. It is when she begins to imagine you with another woman. It seems simple, but it is one of the most powerful psychological triggers inside the female mind. Not because she is naturally possessive, but because women measure value by what other women would want to have. When she senses that you are the kind of man other women desire, look at, and appreciate, her perception shifts instantly. You stop being just an interesting man and become an emotional territory that must be claimed before someone else claims it. This silent fear, even if she never admits it, is the fuel of a stronger, deeper desire. But this awakening only happens with men who have a life of their own. A man who orbits around her, who places her at the center of his existence, will never activate this trigger. A man with purpose, ambition, momentum, yes, that is the man she looks at and thinks, if I do not make an effort, he will not wait for me. And this feeling is extremely powerful because it shifts the emotional dynamic. She stops being the one who decides and becomes the one who fears losing. And a woman who fears losing is a woman who starts chasing. The problem with ordinary men is that they reveal their intentions too soon. They show they are already surrendered, fascinated, available. This destroys the entire emotional tension. A woman does not chase something that is already kneeling at her feet. She chases what stands tall, firm, solid, independent, what does not fold from a compliment, does not melt from attention, does not lose itself because of a smile. And that is exactly what makes your energy addictive. You are the only one who does not revolve around her, and that is what makes her revolve around you. The masculine presence that captivates a woman the most is not constant presence, but selective presence. When you choose to appear and do not appear out of emotional hunger. When you speak to her with serenity instead of need. When you look into her eyes without rushing, as if you are analyzing rather than begging, this completely dismantles female defenses. She feels she cannot move you, and that is exactly what makes her try harder. The greatest paradox is this: the freedom you demonstrate becomes her emotional prison. The freer you are, the more captive she becomes. And here is a raw truth. Women desire men who carry a shadow. Not a destructive shadow, but a controlled one. An intensity that is not displayed, but perceived. A silent strength she feels in your gaze, in your calmness, in the way you never panic. That shadow is what separates a good man from an unforgettable man. The good man is predictable. The unforgettable man has depth. The good man talks too much. The unforgettable man observes. The good man tries to please. The unforgettable man leaves her curious, nervous, unsettled. It is the shadow in you that makes her want to go deeper into your mind, because she feels there are layers she still has no access to. And when she has no access, she tries to earn it. Every woman wants to feel special enough to cross doors that others cannot cross. And when you do not give everything at once, you make her feel the need to conquer more. That is the moment she begins offering more attention, more affection, more closeness. Not as manipulation, but because female psychology works like a door that only opens when effort is applied. If the door is wide open, there is no interest. If the door is slightly ajar, she tries to enter. One of the most Machiavellian elements of attraction is this: women connect with how you make them feel, not with what you say. And you make her feel something powerful when you are not desperate for her approval. When you keep your masculine energy intact, even in the presence of beauty, charm, and provocation. When rejection does not shake you, when compliments do not inflate you, when coldness does not break you, you show something almost no man has: emotional dominance. And emotional dominance is the foundation of feminine attraction. Then the most important phase begins, the phase where she invests more than you do. It is when she reaches out, sends unexpected messages, tries to start conversations, tries to prove she is still present. She does this because she senses that you are not attached, and the lack of attachment creates magnetism. Ironically, the less you try to hold her, the more she tries to get closer. Human nature works this way. We chase what is not in our hands. She will start noticing small details in you: your silence, your self-control, your patience, the way you do not react to chaos, the way you do not fight for crumbs, the way you never panic. This activates in her the realization that you are different from the pattern she is used to. You become an emotional challenge, and challenges are irresistible to women with strong personalities and to those who pretend not to have one. But all this only works when you live on an axis. You first, your life first, your purpose first. She enters the flow. She is not the flow. This structure makes her notice her own behavior changing. She notices she wants you more than she should, thinks about you more than she wants to, replays messages, remembers glances, reconsiders her actions. This is the moment she starts chasing, not because you asked for it, but because abandoning you becomes impossible. When a woman realizes that you do not react to the emotional triggers that bring other men to their knees, something unsettling begins to happen inside her. It is as though the image she has of you gains new contours, deeper, darker, more enigmatic. She feels that there is something in you she cannot understand. And everything we do not understand, we try to possess. Fascination is born exactly from that point, from the inability to categorize you, to predict your responses, to anticipate your moves. You become an emotional blind spot in her mind. And these blind spots are the ones that attract the most, consume the most, and imprison the most. The ordinary man spends his life reacting to the feminine. The rare man forces the feminine to react to him. This inversion is the heart of Machiavellian seduction. You do not follow her emotional rhythm. She adjusts herself to yours. This happens because you are not living for her approval. Most men reply too fast, explain too much, try too hard. You do not. You stay in your axis. Your life does not stop because she took too long to reply. Your emotions do not panic because she acted strange. Your self-esteem does not shake because she was cold. This stability weakens the psychological power many women are used to having. And when a woman loses power, she tries to regain it. It is in this attempt that she starts to chase. But this behavior only sustains itself when you truly have something greater than her inside you. Purpose and ambition. A living inner world is not something you fake. Faking disinterest creates distrust. Living a life that does not revolve around her creates respect. And respect is the foundation of attraction. A woman may desire a man she does not respect, but she will never chase him. What makes her chase is the combination of two dangerous sensations: admiration for who you are, uncertainty about how much you want her. This mixture is explosive. It awakens a desire so deep that many women try to hide it, but never for long. And with each action you take, you feed that fire. You do not respond with hunger, you respond with calmness. You do not rush to explain, you let her imagine. You do not prove anything, you let her build her own perception. And the human mind always fills silence with fantasy. When you do not reveal everything, she begins to create her own narratives. And those narratives are always more intense, more dramatic, and more emotional than anything you could ever say. This is pure psychology. Where information is absent, imagination takes over, and imagination creates attachment. At some point, she begins to wonder whether you truly like her or whether you are simply being polite. And doubt hurts, doubt corrodes the ego. Doubt makes her come back to check if you gave any sign. makes her reread conversations, makes her remember specific moments. Doubt becomes internal investigation, and the more she investigates, the more she concludes that she cannot decipher you. This is where the chase begins to take shape. This is where she starts to seek small gestures, crumbs, clues. This is where she tries to pull you closer, not with sweet words, but with strategic behaviors. She starts to test your presence, disappears to see if you follow, turns on the charm to see if you fold, pretends indifference to observe your reaction. And every time you do not react as expected, she gets even more lost, because every failed test increases her perception that you are extraordinary. Extraordinary men are difficult to control, and everything difficult to control becomes emotionally dangerous. Women feel this danger in the body, and instead of running away from it, they move toward it. Because emotional danger is synonymous with intensity, and intensity is synonymous with passion. The most Machiavellian part is that you are not doing anything against her. You simply do not give what most men give. You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not try to prove yourself. You do not seek affection like charity. And this posture creates a silent psychological phenomenon. She begins to wonder whether you even see her value. And when a woman feels she needs to show value, she invests more than she should. She tries to be sweeter, more present, more affectionate. She does not do this out of kindness. She does it out of emotional survival. Her mind says, "He is not prioritizing me, so I must become worth prioritizing." And when she enters this mode, you become her emotional reference point. She may meet other men, talk to other men, even go out with other men, but she does not feel for any of them what she feels for you. Because emotional impact cannot be replaced, her body reacts to your silence, her mind reacts to your gaze, her ego reacts to your selective indifference, and her heart reacts to the fact that you are the only one she cannot bend. She begins sending signs to pull you in: photos, comments, provocations, strategic messages, and each one of these attempts is a reminder of only one truth. She is already trying to win you. And when a woman tries to win you, the chase has officially begun. This is the phase in which she thinks about you more than she admits, talks about you with her friends, checks your social media, notices every small detail about you. And all of this happens for one reason. You did not fall into the trap of becoming just another man. Women chase the man they feel they could lose, and that losing him would hurt. The man who does not depend on her to exist, the man who does not orbit around her, the man other women would desire, the man with silence, depth, purpose, and a steady ego. A man like that becomes an emotional threat and at the same time, the strongest source of desire. When a woman realizes you did not fall under her spell, that you did not get lost in her charm, that you did not fold to the emotional patterns she uses on every other man, something happens inside her that few people understand. She begins to feel a blend of frustration and uncontrollable fascination. Frustration is born from the wounded ego because she expected you to be like the majority. Enchantment is born from respect because she finally found a man who does not dance to her rhythm, but to his own. And this psychological contrast is devastating. Devastating in the best way. It is the kind of impact that makes her want you in almost involuntary ways. This is where her behavior begins to change without her even realizing it. She replies faster. She pays attention to what you do. She analyzes every word you say. She feels jealousy toward things she never cared about before. All of this happens in silence, but it is obvious to anyone who knows how to read signs. When a woman begins to adjust her energy to yours, she is already emotionally captured. Female desire does not grow from certainty, it grows from tension. And you become the source of that tension. Not because you manipulate, but because you live. And in this phase, something even deeper happens. She begins to compete with herself, not with other women, with herself. She wants to be better for you. More interesting, more feminine, more attentive, more irresistible. A woman only reaches this stage when she feels a man has real options. The perception that you could spend time with others, that you could choose someone else, that you do not depend on her. This puts her into an emotional alert state. And in that state, she tries harder, even if she never admits it. It becomes a silent battle inside her mind. Does he like me? Am I doing the right thing? Does he miss me? And the more she asks, the more invested she becomes. Female psychology moves through intensity, and the intensity you carry is what makes her want to conquer you. She feels she does not have you completely. She feels your interest is real, but not absolute. Your desire exists, but it is controlled. You want her, but you do not need her. This affects a woman deeply because she has finally found someone who does not place her value above his own. This emotional balance is incredibly rare. Most men kneel emotionally. You do not. And that is exactly why she rises to follow you. She begins wanting to impress you, talking about her achievements, sending better photos, dropping hints, trying to show value in subtle ways. She wants you to see her as a woman worthy of your time, not because you asked, but because you silently showed that your time is too precious to waste. And this is the point few understand. When you live as a man of value, you do not need to prove value. You exhale it, and she feels it. Women have an extremely sharp radar for detecting men with presence, discipline, ambition, and authenticity. And when they find one, they chase. Then comes the Machiavellian part. The more she tries to understand you, the more she gets lost, because you do not reveal everything. You do not expose your fears, your secrets, your deepest emotions right away, not because you are cold, but because you are selective. And male selectivity is one of the most attractive psychological weapons that exist. A woman wants to be the chosen one, the one who crosses layers, the one he lets in where no one else is allowed. When she realizes you do not open the door for just anyone, she feels an emotional privilege in every gesture you give her. And that privilege consumes her. She begins creating imaginary scenarios about you. She wonders how you would react if she disappeared. She imagines you with someone else. She questions whether she would be easily replaced. She studies your social media, your timing, your absences. And every absence you create becomes a presence in her mind. Silence becomes narrative. Distance becomes desire. Lack becomes need. This is exactly how the cycle of pursuit solidifies. You do not trap her, she traps herself. And if you maintain the posture of a man who does not panic, does not beg, does not chase, does not crumble, she intensifies the